Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Monmouth County. My name is David Schreier, and my pronouns are he and him. I serve as Congregational Council Moderator. A bit of a mouthful, I know, but that's the person responsible for gathering committee leaders regularly and ensuring they have what they need to succeed. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. Our mission is to create community, transform ourselves, and transform the world. I draw your attention to the backside of your orders of service for announcements and service information for next week. For those on the live stream and for video viewers, the order of service link is available to you in the YouTube service description box. After the service, refreshments will be served in the community room, and people of all ages are welcome to visit with each other. If you are new to us, please do visit our website, UUCMC.org, where you can sign up to get all the latest news of the congregation by email. We look forward to getting to know you better. Please put your devices on silent as we enter into worship together. Welcome again to this place of love and hope.
There's a woman, she's a hungry soul, seeking knowledge, she's a thirsty child, wanting wisdom without growing old. She's learned to walk, but she's walked for miles, 'cause the fields are parched and the well is dry. You can see the fear right behind the eyes, but there's nothing there, just an empty sky. Pray for rain. Pray for rain. There's a young man, he's a broken soul, crying freedom, he's run out of tears, begging mercy, nothing left to hold. He sings a song far beyond his years, 'cause the fields are parched and the well is dry. You can see the fear right behind the eyes, but there's nothing there, just an empty sky. Pray for rain. Pray for rain. Perhaps if we come as children and learn to cry aloud, look up and watch the horizon. God came in a cloud. There's a country, it was made of gold. It went hungry, everyone was calm. People starving, they had empty souls. And nothing grows 'cause the water's gone and the fields are parched and the well is dry. You can see the fear right behind the eyes, but there's nothing there, just an empty sky. There's an empty sky. Pray for rain. Pray for rain. Perhaps if we come as children and learn to cry aloud, look up and watch the horizon. God came, God once came in a cloud. Pray for rain. Pray for rain. Pray for rain. Pray for rain.
I'm the Reverend Dr. Craig Rubano, and I'm glad you've chosen to be with us today. The second Sunday in a month when our congregational theme is story. If you think about it, everything has a story, or at least to us it does, for we humans are the storytelling creatures. And sometimes investigating why a story is as it is can open new ways of conceptualizing things and can lead to the realization that it doesn't have to be that way. For humans are also among the creatures able to make intentional change. Tom just sang to us a beautiful story of a sky that seemed devoid of the hoped-for stories of at least rain, a dearth of rain, of water, all part of the larger story of the human-created climate crisis we face. Our hearts are heavy this morning with the unfolding story in Los Angeles of fire and a shortage of water. The Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, the UUA, has a disaster relief fund that is being deployed to assist those devastated by these events. Just Google UUA, disaster relief, and for ways to donate to those efforts. It's a wonderful resource. A bit later in the service, I will tell the story of the Guanajuato province of Mexico, in which access to drinkable water is very much in peril, and the ways that people are mobilizing to change that story, one village, one household at a time, through an organization called Caminos de agua, translates as Waterways. I'll invite us to become a part of that changing story, as I have, through a continuing relationship with our sibling congregation, the UU Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende, Mexico, and its Social Justice Foundation. We often hear these stories of strife and we wonder what we can do. Not all of us can go to places of crises in the world and put our bodies to the tasks, but all of us can give, even a little, to the efforts of those committed to these struggles. Even the land upon which we gather has a story, and often itself not a pretty one. We begin this morning by acknowledging the Lene Lenape as the original people of this land, and we recognize the continued presence of Lenape people in their homeland, and of affirming the aspiration of the great Lenape chief Tamanend, that there be harmony between the indigenous people of this land and the descendants of the immigrants to this land, as long as the rivers and creeks flow, and the sun, moon, and stars shine. There's some interest among some congregants to learn more about the story of a later migration of Cherokee Indians to what became known as Shrewsbury, and the Sand Hill Indian population, whose historical society is located right here in Lincroft. Our call to worship, with worship understood in its original meaning of a shaping concern for all that is of worth, comes to us from UU minister, the Reverend Scott Taylor. Let us drink from the stories that sustain us all. We gather as a house of stories, as we learn of those who have gone before, the way in front of us becomes clearer. as we weave together our individual tales into a common story, our loneliness lessens, and the ever-present web of our oneness is revealed. As we listen deeply to each other's difficult stories with tenderness and trust, we descend into the longings and learnings, hopes and fears of the humanity we share. Beneath the wells from which we drink, there is a deeper well that feeds them all. Come, let us tell each other tales of our thirst. Let us drink from the stories that sustain us all. And let us worship together. Every week we light a flame in a chalice cup, joining two symbols from antiquity into one that represents the vital work Unitarian Universalism continues deploying to honor and support the living dignity of all human beings. This morning I invite Tom McCormack and Bruce Meltzer to light our chalice flame. As they do so, I invite us to hear words of Spanish-English bilingual teacher and prolific children's book author Kate Coombs. This is something written for a children's English textbook in the state of Kerala on the southwestern coast of India. Turn on the tap and the water flows. Does anyone know where the water goes? Turn on the tap and the water comes. Does anyone know where the water is from? Water is clean and water is cool, living in rivers and raining in pools. Yet water can trickle and wells can dry up till there's nothing left to fill the cup. Today, there is water when we turn the tap on. But what will we do when the water is gone? Thank you both. In preparation for hearing a story of water in Mexico, I invite us to rise in body and/or spirit to sing a folk song from Mexico, one included in our gray hymnal, number 305. The melody and words will be on the screens. We'll sing the first verse in Spanish, followed by 3 verses in English. De colores. De colores se visten los campos en la primavera. De colores son los pajaritos que vienen de afuera. De colores es el arco iris que vemos lucir, y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí. Y por eso los grandes amores de muchos colores me gustan a mí.
Imagine your life with no water. No kitchen sink to fill your glass when you're thirsty. No shower or bathtub to clean your body. Imagine not going to school, but instead walking miles a day to bring water back to your family. And you don't know if it's clean or safe to drink. Our story is called The Water Princess. The story is based on supermodel Georgie Badal's childhood, where as a young girl, she dreamt of bringing clean drinking water to her African village. The story was written by Susan Verde and illustrated by Peter H. Reynolds. I am Princess Gigi. My kingdom, the African sky, so wide and so close, I can almost touch the sharp edges of the stars. I can tame the wild days with my song. I can make the tall grass sway when I dance. I can make the wind play hide and seek. But I cannot make the water come closer. I cannot make the water run clearer, no matter what I command. It is still early, still dark. My mother wakes me. Gigi, my princess, it's time to get up. We must collect the water. Water, come. Do not make me wake before even the sun is out of bed, I demand. Come, please, I say. But the water won't listen. And I know we will have to walk so far to the well. I am too sleepy to put on my crown. I think of the pot that will rest on my braids instead. The thirst comes quick. Dry lips, dry throat. I squeeze my eyes shut. I see it, clear. I dip my toes in it, cool. I scoop it up and I bring it to my lips. Slowly, I open my eyes. Nothing. I kick the dust. I grab my empty pot and place it upon my head. My mother does the same, and our journey begins, full of song. My maman adds her melody. Our steps are light. We twirl and laugh together. The miles give us room to dance. Halfway there, we stop for a moment at a giant karité tree, long enough to grab a handful of sweet shea nuts for energy. We keep the dance going just a little longer. Maman, are we there yet? Finally, I hear water running from the well, the giggles of my friend, the chatter of women. Some have traveled farther than I, only to return home when the sun has gone to bed. Maman holds our place while I play with friends. The dance continues. The water is flowing. Pots filling with dusty, earth-colored liquid. Gigi, come, maintenant. My turn now. The dance home has slowed to careful steps. My thirst so heavy, like the full pot I carry. Our song is softer now. Our shoulders ache. Our feet cramp. I see home at last. Maman boils enough water for drinking. We wait. We wash our clothes. We prepare food for cooking. My father comes quickly from the fields to share in the drink and the meal. He scoops me up. My princess, you have returned with the water. Drink, Maman says. Finally, every sip fills me with energy. I want to make it last, but I can't. I gulp it down. Clothes and body clean. I sing to the dogs. I dance with the tall grass. I hide from the wind. Maman brings out the last cup she has saved for me. Drink, my princess. Sleep, my princess. Tomorrow we journey again. Maman, I say as I close my eyes, why is the water so far? Why is the water not clear? Where is our water? Sleep, she says. Dream, she says. Someday you will find a way, my princess. Someday. I am Princess Gigi. My kingdom, the African sky, the dusty earth, and someday the flowing, cool, crystal clear water. Someday. Someday actually came when Georgie grew up and became a supermodel. She used her fame and her money to start a foundation that has brought clean water to over 350,000 people around the Ivory Coast and parts of Africa. That number is growing, but this story illustrates that we all have within us the ability to contribute to making the world a better place for all people. And so let us all commit ourselves to creating stories of change. And now, let us offer a blessing to our children and youth as they go off to their faith development program with Go Now and Peace, and the youth are meeting in the community room today.
Every week in this congregation, we are provided with an opportunity to practice generosity. This is your invitation to contribute to the well-being of our congregation and to our social justice partners through the good works of organizations which receive half the monies collected each month. Our Share the Plate recipient for the month of January is Lunch Break Family Promise, whose life skills program offers free help with taxes, GED prep, computer skills, tutoring for ages, ESL, and credit and financial counseling. The construction on Lunch Break's facility on Doctors James Parker Boulevard, which doubled in size, is now complete. For those of you present here in the meeting house, the plates will be passed by the ushers. You may also join this time of generosity via text. Send your offering by mail or charge your contribution online with a memo designating an amount to Lunch Break Family Promise. Please give generously.
This morning, I have a story of water to tell you. And it's a desperate story in many ways, but it is also a story of hope. For a group of people has gotten together to do something to change. They are going about it. Serves as a model for how to help others help themselves, how to join the efforts of those most affected by injustice, rather than lead from the outside. And it's a story of how Unitarian Universalism is making a difference in the Guanajuato province of Mexico, and how our congregation, in turn, can be a part of that change. First, some facts. Here's what we're talking about, or where we're talking about. And thanks in advance to Dylan Terrell, the founding member and executive director of an organization that has impressed me so very much, Caminos de agua, for the use of some of his slides. Guanajuato province, as you can see, is roughly in the central part of Mexico, and the watershed in question, or cuenca in Spanish, is in the northern half of that province. At the very bottom of the watershed, you'll see the city of San Miguel de Allende, the location of the UU Fellowship, with which we've been working for the past 2 years, and which serves as a conduit for our partnering with the literacy group Libros para Todos, as well as any upcoming support we give to Caminos. The story of water and the lack of healthy drinking water in Guanajuato has several layers. The number one culprit, however, is probably in all of our refrigerators at this very moment, because the U.S. outsources 60% of its fruit and 40% of its vegetable production. And over 50% of that outsourcing comes from Mexico, where unregulated water usage has had a devastating effect on the aquifer of this region. Multinational agricultural companies are now using 85% of the water supply to the area. Wells into the aquifer began to be dug in the 1950s, at which point they were about 150 feet deep. Then dangerous chemicals, which you'll see roughly conceptualized in the drawing as red and yellow dots, more on that in a minute, those chemicals were largely diluted in the plentiful waters of the aquifer. At that time, there were 400 to 700 wells in this region. By the 1980s, 1,800 to 2,000 wells had been dug, with the effect of lowering the water level in the aquifer. Today, the number of wells has exceeded 4,500, and the water level has dropped precipitously, now at a rate of 10 feet a year. 10 feet a year. The wells dug from the 50s to the 80s no longer can even reach the water, with the result of wells drying up and in many cases collapsing in on themselves. Deeper wells are prohibitively expensive, resulting in more and more exclusive access to the foreign national companies that think nothing of digging wells 1,500 feet deep. And as you can imagine, the climate crisis plays a role here as well. For while historically the aquifer would be replenished by rainwaters that filter down into the soil, the decreased patterns of rainfall that have increased usage of aquifer water has also hampered any ability to keep pace with its falling levels. But another problem has become apparent. That's where the red and yellow dots come in. Red for arsenic and yellow for fluoride. These chemicals, once diluted in the aquifer waters, are now much more concentrated. In fact, the aquifer has reached depths where companies are accessing what's called fossil water, water undisturbed for millions of years. Because of the volcanic substrate of this particular aquifer, high levels of arsenic and fluoride have leached into the water. And while a little bit of fluoride in the water is a good thing, and seriously one of the triumphs of 20th century health progress in the world, a lot of fluoride is decidedly bad, interacting with the calcium in our bodies to deleterious effect. Teeth falling out, bones curving and breaking, along with cognitive development and learning disabilities due to the fluoride lodging in the brain. And children are affected in the most pronounced ways because of the growth schedules of younger bodies. And not one bit of arsenic is ever good. Along with developmental and learning issues, it causes lesions, kidney disease, and so far thoroughly documented cancers of the gallbladder and skin, with lung, kidney, and liver cancers almost assuredly sparked as well. And in the case of Guanajuato province, we're not talking about those chemicals being a bit elevated. There are many wells in the area that demonstrate 18 times the safe level of fluoride, 18 times, and 23 times the safe level of arsenic. While those with affluence have access to super expensive reverse osmosis filtration, the people in the villages and cities do not. None of the methods of filtration accessible to the mainstream does anything to strip these dangerous substances from the water. This is where some very dedicated people decided to investigate, measure, assess, and begin to partner with scientific entities, universities, manufacturing plants, and grassroots campaigns, not just to fund efforts to change the story of water, but to educate the people who live there on the necessity for change. Because any solution that has any chance for success has to be accessible, affordable, and able to be run by the inhabitants of the region. One organization with a large enough passion and will to help coordinate these efforts is Caminos de agua, or Waterways. Headquartered in San Miguel, this is a very small group of people, keeping overhead low, which has helped marshal the efforts needed to shift the tide on these problems. It should be said, however, that the tide is not turning back to before times. The future can be brighter, but only if people dramatically change the way they live. Caminos' mission is, and here the wording is important, for at its heart are people and communities. The mission to improve human health and community well-being through adequate and affordable access to clean water. Its mission has 5 prongs that you can see on the slide: water monitoring, technology development, community water projects, education, and advocacy. First is to determine who needs help. So alongside governmental agencies primed by this crisis to provide the funding and personnel necessary, a huge number of the area's wells has been tested. If fluoride and arsenic are present in safe levels, there are still bacterial filtration systems needed. 1,000 of them have been installed by Caminos in 3 years, along with construction of 37 dry composting water-saving toilets. If fluoride and arsenic levels are within 5 times the safe levels, there is hope to begin chemical filtration efforts. But for the many wells where these chemicals exceed 5 times the safe levels, there is nothing to be done. That water can no longer be used to drink or to cook. And so, alternatives needed to be developed to supply safe drinking water, primarily through rainwater harvesting technologies. Caminos built and installed 243 such systems in 2023 across 22 villages. For the more difficult issue, the wells no longer usable for potable water, Caminos, along with its partners, have pioneered over 8 years what they're calling GTS, groundwater treatment systems, a replicable, scalable, cost-effective method to treat water at the entire community scale. The slide you are seeing shows the first such system successfully implemented in 2021 for a village called Los Ricos, and where now upwards of 40 families derive their drinking water through the GTS, under the stewardship, get this, of a newly elected town water committee, which collects nominal fees from each family to provide for GTS's ongoing operation and system maintenance. The second GTS system, installed in 2023 in Alonso Yañez, serves 270 families, or roughly 1,500 people. And in a proud moment for us, this is the very same town where money donated from this congregation to Libros para Todos resulted in a disused community center being turned into a library. You did that. Next up for Caminos, GTS systems that serve upwards of 2,000 people, with the goal of having 10 more installed and running in the next 5 years. Yes, 5 years. No sudden magical solutions. Incremental change is what's possible, not only in Mexican populations, but in other such communities all over the world. As Dylan Terrell says, roughly 2.2 billion, with a B, as in boy, people, or more than a quarter of the entire global population, lack access to clean water. Upwards of 300 million people, with an estimated 21 million in Mexico alone, suffer from excessive levels of arsenic and fluoride in their water supplies, with few appropriate solutions available to remove these problematic contaminants. The accompanying social and economic impacts of this crisis are almost impossible to overstate. Innovative, low-cost solutions are desperately needed to address both the social needs of at-risk communities who are disproportionately affected by these modern water issues, as well as the increasingly complex technical water challenges we are now facing in the 21st century. The philosophy behind Caminos staff's work is vital. Here's their philosophy. 1, they live where they work. 2, they themselves use the same technologies as the people on whose behalf they are working. And most importantly, 3, they partner with community leaders. That is, they work with communities that are already organized. For in addition to Caminos' mission prongs of monitoring technological development and the implementation of community projects are education and advocacy. First, people have to be alerted and allowed to understand the need for these interventions. One of Caminos' community organizers said if they'd just arrived with technical workshops, these projects would never have worked. They work because there's been a process, first of identifying, creating awareness, and then letting the communities themselves be the owners of this process. Even more, a new generation of grassroots leaders needs to be developed to continue the work of advocacy into the future. Just launched in October by Caminos is a water school, a project teaching knowledge and skills not only of water technologies, but of agroecology, reforestation, and importantly, community communication, community health, and the implementation of a solidarity-based economy. A staff of 18 puts into play all these initiatives and more. Can you tell that I was and still am impressed by the work of this devoted team? And I do want to encourage you, and for you to encourage others, to donate to this worthy group. We will have a link put in the e-blast, and I'll include it as I did this past week in some of my upcoming meditations, because I'm going back to Mexico at the end of next month to work with these folks. And I'd love to have some funds to deliver with me. Importantly, in our future partnering with UU Fellowship of San Miguel, we will donate to Caminos through its Social Justice Foundation. And there is a field on the online forum to identify the congregation as the source of the donation, to identify our congregation. So please don't forget to fill that in so that our community effort can be counted. The foundation takes not 1 penny of the money, but only serves as a vetted conduit to the organizations in need. Our giving will work for Caminos, it works for the UU Fellowship there and its community partners, and it works for us as givers. So yes, I tell this story in great part because I am hoping you'll consider helping out. Oops. But also, and in closing, I tell this story because I think that the manner in which Caminos is helping to change a story of water provides Unitarian Universalists and any other religious organization that seeks to do good for people other than themselves with an important lesson for working alongside communities in need, communities often already marginalized. Because it's so easy to move into these situations with a savior mentality, intending for us to help them by leading. And historically, this has been overwhelmingly the way dominant culture, predominantly white organizations, have done it. Instead, we all need to learn to follow, providing support to already existing movements for change, both internationally and vitally right around the corner. Dylan Terrell admits that he first went to Mexico as part of a company determined to provide affordable housing to communities near Mexico City. Years into the project, however, it became clear that housing wasn't what the communities that were supposedly serving needed, and the project never reached completion. When interviews were done with people, seemingly always at the root of their lives' needs was the story of water. Too little, too much, and contamination. So Dylan uprooted himself and his family, moved into Guanajuato province, an area deeply affected by the water crisis, and with existing organized communities, devoted himself to many layers of cooperation in service to communal efforts led by others. The story of Caminos is a story of water, yes, but it's also a story of collaboration, of education, of grassroots organizing, of a belief in science, of technological know-how, and of the kind of partnering for justice that our ongoing work with the UU Fellowship of San Miguel de Allende has engendered. I was so proud that this relationship that we have with them, our congregation, ours, just ours, work with San Miguel, was the model for one of the presentations to the entire world membership of the UUA this past summer at the General Assembly. We directly pioneering ways of changing stories, large distances across the globe from where we live. And just as our work the past 2 years with Libros para Todos, and by the way, you can continue to donate to Libros on the same foundation webpage that we'll provide to you. Well, that partnership with Libros has resulted in a new community library and in hundreds of kids owning their very first book. It has also led to some memorable smiles. I know that our lending support to the work of Caminos de Agua will not only save lives, but will in like manner light up some faces. And I end with 6 words: together, changing the story of water.
He said, He said, don't wait till morning. Can you please come tonight? I can't find my way home. We had a terrible fight. Maybe tomorrow, when there's light, I can see my way there. I know where I should be. Can you lead me to water? Cool water. Can you help me find shelter from the heat of the day? Let me lounge in your laughter. I don't care what comes after. I just need you to make me okay. She said, I want for nothing. I do fine on my own. Must you always intrude? Why don't you leave me alone? Maybe tomorrow, but right now I don't need of your care, your concern, or your greed. But you can bring me to water. Clear water. Help me find reason in this darkest of seasons. Though I'm strong, I'm not sure of the way. My mind is open to a confident plan. My heart is broken from wishful dreaming. Here in this desert, I just can't understand why, how, where can I go from here? Water, water, ooh, cool, clear water. Can you lead me to water? Please, can you lead me to water? Water, 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 water.
I invite us into a time of prayer and meditation, a time of gratefulness, a time of honoring that most precious substance, water. These words are written by preeminent theorist of ecofeminism and neo-paganism, Starhawk. Praise and gratitude to the sacred waters of the world, to the oceans, the mother of life, the womb of the plant life that freshens our air with oxygen, the brew that is stirred by sunlight and the moon's gravity into the great currents and tides that move across the earth, circulating the means of life, bringing warmth to the frozen Arctic and cool, fresh winds to the tropics. We give thanks for the blessed clouds and the rain that brings the gift of life to the land, that eases the thirst of roots, that grows the trees and sustains life even in the dry desert. We give thanks for the springs that bring life-giving water up from the ground, for the small streams and creeks, for the mighty rivers, We praise the beauty of water, the sparkle of the sunlight on a blue lake, the shimmer of moonlight on the ocean's waves, the white spray of the waterfall. We take delight in the sweet singing of the dancing stream and the roar of the river in the flood. We ask help to know within ourselves all the powers of water, to wear down and to build up, to ebb and to flow, to nurture and to destroy, to merge and to separate. We know that water has great powers of healing and cleansing, and we also know that water is vulnerable to contamination and pollution. We ask help in our work as healers, in our efforts to ensure that the waters of the world run clean and run free, that all the earth's children have the water they need to sustain abundance of life. Blessed be the water. Amen. And now to sing our closing hymn, To the Interconnected Web of Existence, of which we are a part, I invite us to rise in body and our spirit. It's number 175 in the hymnals. The words are on the screens. We celebrate the web of life. Tom will play through it once for us. We celebrate the web of life, its magnitude we sing, for we can see divinity in every living thing, a fragment of the perfect whole in cactus and in quail, as much in tiny barnacle as in the great blue whale. Of ancient dreams we are the sum, our bones link stone to star, and bind our future worlds to come with worlds that were and are. Respect the water, land, and air, which gave all creatures birth. Protect the lives of all that share the glory of the earth. Now, when do you get to sing about barnacles and great blue whales? I ask you. This coming week heralds the arrival of our new music director. Yes. Michael Rosen. Rosen, like what you put on your violin bows, those who have violin bows. Be sure to be with us next Sunday, the 19th, to give him a properly generous UUCMC welcome. The stories of water in this world need not continue the course they are on today. It is in our power to give some of those stories better tomorrows. For two of his own compositions, including one finished yesterday, addressed to the theme of the month and the theme of the day, we give our thanks as ever to the wonderful Tom McCormack. Our closing words of benediction travel across the African continent, from the West African country of Burkina Faso, the setting of our story wisdom story of Water Princess. We now move to the East Coast nation of Kenya. These are words of retired economist and epidemiologist Maureen Injete Chezoni, who is currently using the arts to help people and to share information on a variety of topics. This is her. Now the taps are dry. She told us to plant trees, and we paid no heed. And now the taps are dry. They released a water rationing schedule today, a water conservation measure, they say, because the taps are dry. We should have rationed our greed and paid her heed when she told us not to cut down forest trees, but we did not see the wisdom of her pleas. And now the taps are dry. We thought that the price of food was high until we had to choose what to buy, food or the liquid of life. Yesterday, I had to explain to my daughter that the choice was between food and water, now that our taps are dry. Who would have thought that the day would come when we would stand under God's glorious sun and buy water by the gallon? We cannot say that we did not see it coming, because she gave us ample warning that soon the day would be dawning when we would wake up one morning and find that our taps were dry. So now we are taking conservation measures, a little too late. We are reclaiming our treasures that were squandered and plundered to suit the whims of a few. We lacked forethought. We should have fought, just as she taught, to protect the liquid of life. We should have been as far-sighted as she, who told us not to cut down trees. Then perhaps today we would not be crying over the fact that our taps are drying. The stories of water can be shifted for the better. It's up to us. Let us go in peace to bless, to change the world.